Hello and welcome to the Arri studio here in Munich. Well, you may ask yourself why I'm running in circle. And it's not because of the Corona treadmill. No, it is because this is the best way to show you what this show is all about today. So in the next 30 minutes or maybe a bit more, we will talk about the 5 good reasons why the Arri workflow, the products and the solutions are the right tooling in this Corona times. And to make this even a bit more entertaining and to give you a bit more real life feeling, I will hand over now to our good friends Sebastian Lunge and Nino Pancini in Los Angeles. So Sebastian.
Thank you, Kurt. It's a pleasure being here. The pandemic has forced the world to look into new ways to be safe and maintain social distance, and production is no different. The first and second reasons why the SRH is a perfect tool during post-COVID production is because of camera movement in general, and then stabilized camera movement. Here to show us what that means is Nino Pancini. Nino is a camera operator who has worked in second unit on some of the biggest productions in Hollywood, from the Fast and Furious franchise, Ford vs. Ferrari, and Captain Marvel, just to name a few. Welcome and thank you for being here, Nino. So why are stabilized remote heads so important for your work?
Until now, until I met the SRH, let's put it this way, we used a different remote head, very compact, very strong, and very fast. The reason for that was for the whip pan, that sometimes whenever we have to shoot action, most of the action happens within half a second to a second. So you have to try to capture as much of that action in that very little time. And the experience we had with the other remote heads, I wasn't able to capture that in that little time. It had to be a wide shot and never a tight shot or anything like that. But then it came to a situation where the little head was always too shaky, too wobbling for some of the shots that we had to take, and they wanted to have it a little more stabilized. And then we had to get into bigger heads, and those heads were cost forbidden for production and for handling and for operator and technicians. So we tried to find things that are very small, lightweight, and we can easily rig them in and out of cars as fast as possible and yet have a great stabilized image. And the SRH happened to do that for us.
While we're talking about it, why don't you tell us a little bit about a few different setups that you have done with it that you would consider special and probably not easy to replicate with other heads?
Right. Well, we started using the SRH about, 4 features ago. And that was the first time I really had my hands on it. Obviously, you know, there were some things that it will be a learning curve for everybody when you first try, because you have to feel the head, you have to feel it, how it moves, how it behaves, based on the action and based how you want to capture that image. We used that on a motorcycle to do some little chase sequence on a motorcycle. The stabilized image was so rock solid, I could not believe what I was getting, because even on a standing still, stabilized, I could not see any oscillations whatsoever, or drifting for that matter. You know, plus the fact that the SRH has high dynamic mode, which is a whole completely different processor that all I care is that the equipment does what we want it to do. So having done that first feature, I actually went back to Germany and I got together with the manufacturing company and I gave them a little more information about the kind of work that I do, how we do it, and how quickly we need to do it, because we don't have the pleasure on second unit, you know, to just do take 1, take 2, take 3. No, most of the time you have to get the shot in take 1, because you don't want to put at risk stunt people or anybody else to do that shot, because every time we do anything like this, it's always dangerous, you know. So we have to really depend on the equipment. We can't just say, well, if it fails, we'll try another one. No, it has to work. There is no if, it has to work. One of the bigger jobs and the most challenging jobs that I used the SRH was a very long movie. It was about 16 weeks of second unit. We were filming in Thailand and the chase sequence were all off-road. I mean, the head was mounted on a Polaris, an off-road vehicle, and we had it with the spring arm, and we also had that hard mount on cars, inside cars and outside the vehicle. We tried all the different versions, and it was actually way too stable for that sequence, because You wanted to get a little bit of shakiness, you know, and not just have this perfect stabilized image. And what I liked about that is that the head has also what they call a follow mode. So I noticed that if I enable the follow mode, I would get a little bit more of energy out of the shots, basically. Yeah. But sometimes we liked it nice and smooth, you know, so we did a lot of that. You can see some of the tests, and you'll see how crazy we were running and how crazy the head was operating on the arm. It was like swinging left and right, up and down, but yeah, the image looks like it's not moving at all. The distance were also like, you know, at least a good half a mile, quarter of a mile, always go, 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 go. You know, and you know, my fear at first was like, oh my God, is this head going to ever handle all this G-force and jumping and smacking? It did it. I had no problem in Thailand whatsoever. I had to learn a whole new system there because I had the first radios to test the ranges because that was very important for this job. We needed to have the ranges. I learned that by using this great long-range radio, now I no longer had the assistant with me. I had to deal always with the second assistant camera. And the first assistant would just sit there by Video Village with his monitor and control everything from there. So I would say hello to him in the morning and say hello to him at the end of the day because the radios worked that well. But, you know, the head performed superb. You know, after having done what we did with this head, I don't think anybody will ever have enough a problem, never. You know, don't panic when you see the control and you start saying, oh my God, what does this do? What does that do? It's really easy, you know. I actually panicked when I first saw it, but then 2 days later, it's like, oh, I wish I'd known it was this easy. Another time we used it on another very well-known film was the only head we had. And that, I have to say, I was a bit nervous being the fact that it was the only stabilized head we had for the whole second unit. You know, we had a backup as well. Because, you know, when you get on these big films, how the director get crazy, they want everything now, 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 and now. And that performance was just unbelievable, just unbelievable. Like I said, we took the speeds up to 180 kilometers an hour. So we took the head, it was front mounted, hard mounted in front of our camera car. And we were going around the track, again, at about 180. Being the fact that the track was so wide, you didn't even feel like you were doing 180. But most important was the fact that even though I had a mat box in front of the head, I could pan and tilt and roll and not have any issues with the wind force. It just performed super well. No, I really love the head. It's very compact, very lightweight, 19 pounds. Most of the time when we have to remount it somewhere else, we just pick up the whole head and camera, go boom, just a castle nut away and off you go, especially if you're wireless, you know. I just love it. You know, now I take it everywhere I go, you know, and obviously our cameraman loves it as well. He likes what he sees from it, you know. And again, my director, my DP, those have been true drivers of me wanting to make this equipment work well and perform to what they desire. When they're happy, I am happy. If they're not happy, I'm very unhappy. And then that just goes down the line until it comes to your phone call. Yeah. Sebastian. No, but I mean, obviously there's so much I can talk about it, and I'm sure you don't want to sit there and listen to this for 24 hours because quite often in the heat of the moment, the best comes out, you know.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, Nino. And yes, of course, you brought up a great point here. The new COVID safety protocols asking for more distance between the operator and the remote head. It also asks for more distance in between the crew and the cast. On the other hand, as you saw in the videos, the way Nino is working means he has to cover a huge distance in between him and the fast-moving remote head, which is somewhere on the field. So already last year, we completely rethought the entire wireless setup for the remote head, and we came up with the external radio modules for the remote head. But at the same time, we had to understand that we still had to control the lens over this wide distance. So we came up with a second solution, the LCS version. Let me give you a quick technical overview in our fridge. So now here you can see both modules living side by side on our remote control panel. Here we got the one for the remote head, and here's the LCS version. Of course, both versions are plug and play. That means once they are configured, you can unconnect them, reconnect them, and immediately they will pick up connection. So this is a no-brainer. Both modules are running on 2.4 gigahertz, which gives you 1,000 meters or 3,280 feet of distance. The one for the remote head is also available in America with 900 megahertz, which gives you 3,000 meters or 9,842 feet, which I would say is quite insane in a way. The LCS version is talking LCS protocols, LBus protocols, and can handle external signals. So this is a brilliant combination with a WC4 or the C Pro hand unit. And also for DITs, there are some amazing workflows available with the LCS version. Now, in our setup today, we're using the LCS version on our encoder head. Now, the entire encoder head is talking LBus. That means tilt, pan, zoom, and focus going through the LBus and into the LCS version, and this allows us to pull focus here on the remote head. And of course, it allows us to move the entire remote head wireless. Now, Nino did extensive testing with a pre-serial version of the external radio module. So, Nino, what was the best distance you could do while fast and furious in the jungle?
Well, let me put it this way. Regardless of the distances, we did not find a point of failure during the whole production, the whole filming. In Thailand, we used the 900. We filmed in pretty much in a jungle, so there was a lot of humidity, lots of trees, and I thought it was going to be a total failure in there because that's what everybody said, that radios usually don't work well with humidity and trees, but zero problem. It went like as far as like a mile and a half away. Couldn't even see where the car was. Totally fine. No delay, nothing. The second place was in Georgia, Tbilisi. Over there it was in the city, and it was on the main road where I would say probably all government buildings were there with all kinds of radios circulating, you know, the secret agents, whatever they have there. You know. So we also had a very long stretch there, about 2 mile stretch. But there I only used the 2.4 because the country of Georgia would not allow the use of the 900. In both cases, both radios never failed me. They worked all the way. I actually lost video before I would lose the head. Not that I lost the head, but I lose video, then I say, okay, I can't operate anymore. I have no more image. So the car would have to turn around or we have to move closer to them, you know. So at this point, I don't feel like, oh, I don't know if we can get a range, because you're not gonna have a range problem. You're gonna have a video problem. So you can rest assured your head will never go down with this range. I did some tests in the past, downtown Los Angeles, in Las Vegas, by the airports and so forth, just to see if there was an interference that it would cause lost communication, and nothing. I even had the car with the SRH drive into a tunnel, and we were on the other end of the tunnel, outside and around the corner, and I still had range. And when I saw that, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I don't need to test anymore. This is good. So I'm very happy. And the focus puller also with the LCS version, not a problem. Like I say, he would just sit by Video Village in his little cabana and just pull focus with the monitor, and that was it. Very happy with it, and you will definitely be happy. So now for the technical aspect of the radios, I think I'll better hand that over to Sebastian.
Yes, thank you. This brings up the third and fourth reason why the SRH is perfect suited for shooting in the post-COVID world. And that is remote control of the SRH head, as well as expanded range of the lens and camera control system. By using a 2.4 GHz radio module with transmission powers of up to 1 watt, these new external modules can cover a distance of up to 3,300 feet. They are compatible with the current Arri LCS lineup, such as WCU4, SXU1, as well as OCU1, and with the C-Motion, C-Pro, and C-Evolution lines. Just connect the hand unit to the transmitter and the receiver to your LCS system on the camera, and you're ready to go, being able to use all the features that your LCS system offers, including camera control. So now you have seen some of the reasons why the SRH is a perfect tool for production during and after COVID. But there's more, and that's where Camadeus comes in. We take the SRH ecosystem and help you put it in an actual application, whether that's on a dolly, a jib, a telescopic crane, the Agito, a remote control robotic dolly system, or to mount it on a car, or anywhere else for that matter. There are a lot of different tools, such as ISO dampeners, vibration isolators, or shock absorbers, which are needed for all kinds of different setups. Depending on your shot, the need for the right tool required can vary. And we at Camadeus are here to help you navigate through this. This is also something that Nino can say a few words about.
One important thing that we should all understand, every tool has its reason and its purpose. The fact that the head works super well for me, it's great, but you also need to have the proper tools underneath, such as an ISO dampener, and there's various types of ISO dampeners that have different results. I had to test 3 or 4 of them to find the results that I was quite happy with it. One was the Panther one, which I really liked that one, on the car, and I used that on quite a few films, and on the crane as well. You can just adjust your shocks there and make it stiffer if you have to. And the fact that the head is light, that ISO dampener works even better if you were to put like a heavier package on, also that it would be able to handle that. So again, for the purpose of your shoot, or my shoot, we all have to pick the right tools that go beneath the head, because without having the right tools there, you're gonna open up yourself to failures. I have used the head many times without ISO dampener, and it's a great job. It does a great job. It's not a problem.
Are there any shots that you have done using the SRH where you thought, well, this is so unique, I never thought I could do that shot, before you had a tool like the SRH?
Oh yes, we've done quite a few. One trouble, our director loves the camera very low on cars, on wheelbarrow. It just loves that energy. So I was able to accomplish that with my other heads, which are compact, and I can fit them under there and be strong and get them super low. But what I did not like about that is the fact that after 30 millimeter, you just see the shakes too much, and you can put as much rigging as you want, that shake will never disappear. And it was always my dream to have that same shot, but with a much better stabilized image. We fitted this underneath at super low mode, and I was able to film with 80 millimeter and be rock solid on something that 35 millimeter could not handle in the past. So that made me very happy, because I know the director likes that. Having seen that, mounting the head in a car is also very easy, because being a stabilized head, you don't have to worry about leveling your cheese plates or rigging. You just put a hi-hat, ratchet strap the hi-hat, and put the head on, and off you go. So we've mounted that way. We've also mounted it on a slider, one of your slider, the Panther slider on the side of a car. Everything wireless. Once you start seeing the ability, and again, it's almost pointless for me to talk about it, because everybody creates images in their mind in their own way. You really have to play with it to learn and understand how far and how much you can do with the head. If you don't play with it, if you don't put your hands on and you see how it reacts, it's hard to visualize things, because quite often we dream of a shot and then we think, oh, but we need this, we need that, we need that, and then it becomes so forbidden, so expensive, that you're like, give up. But why give up when you can make it happen?
Well, there's nothing to add to this. Thank you very much, Nino. We have now talked a lot about dynamic and fast-paced camera movement. It's now time to go the opposite direction. Let's talk about slow movement and static shots. For this, we go back to Munich. Kurt has some more information for us.
Thank you. Let me quickly talk about the hardware one more time. So obviously, of course, the 360 offers unlimited movement on the pan axis, which is because of a new slip ring inside. We have a new motor inside, which gives you 50% more torque, and we have 12G video, which is absolutely future-proof for the next upcoming cameras. Of course, we also worked on the software, and we tried to improve different fields on the software. So the first battlefield I want to talk about is the high dynamic mode and static shooting. So we have two kinds of operators. there's people like Nino who need maximum stabilization, and that means they need maximum dynamic if they go crazy in their cars going through the jungle or wherever they're driving around. And we have the other group of operators, they want to have the remote head on a tripod, a dolly or a telescopic crane. So these guys need the possibilities to operate with the lowest amount of possible drift. So therefore we made the so-called low dynamic mode. So now you have high dynamic for real action and you have low dynamic for extreme straight static shooting. We also put some other little features in the new software, which I would like to show you on slides. To speed up things, we added a new feature to the PID menu, which called the Quick Setup. So touching Quick Setup will open up this new window with a very simple matrix. Here you just tell us what is your camera setup about. So for example, medium could be a mini with a long zoom lens. Heavy could be an LXLF with a signature prime. Just press apply, and this setup should more or less already meet your demands. If not, just do a little fine trim on PID values and you should be fine. So the other things we did is we gave the drop compensation a bit more power. So in the background, besides just compensating the steep angles, we also can compensate some unwanted vibration and frequencies. So this becomes a kind of a master control function. And to use it that way, the best thing you can do is you assign the drop to K7. So whenever your system out of the blue starts to vibrate, you just turn slightly K7 and you just change the drop value up or down till the vibration is gone. So this is a very simple way to get the entire package under control in milliseconds. To show us the box and to share his experience with us. Sebastian.
Indeed we did, but to talk about that, I'm going to hand this over to our dear friend Daniel Schade, camera operator, Trinity operator, certified Arri CSS trainer, all over mastermind. Daniel, take it from here.
Thank you, Sebastian. When I first started using the SRH-3, it was a very exciting tool with a lot of prospects, as it is still today. However, at the time, there were only two ways to connect the head to the operating station. One was the built-in wireless radio, and the other one was to hardwire it. At the time, I was working with a lot of broadcast companies. One of them was Megatrax, which built a high-speed robotic dolly in order to shoot NASCAR. What they were using were Ethernet high-gain radios. So there was already a low Ethernet environment with a router inside the dolly as well as at the operating station. So I was talking with FOMA and the guys at Arri and saying, like, hey, is there any way that we can connect this FSCAN protocol into an Ethernet? And so they're noodling, and I was like, yeah, sure, I mean, I guess that's what we can do. And so luckily they came up with these LAN to CAN adapters. So like Kurt said, it's really exciting to be able to go hardwired over long distances, or in the case of the Megatrax dolly, to go into yet another protocol of wireless connectivity. So yes, it's very exciting.
Well, Nino, thank you very much. It was a real pleasure having you here, and thank you for taking the time and sharing all your vast experience.
You know, I always love to give people as much information as I know, because I want people to be happy and get the shot that they want to get. I'm not like the kind of guy that says, oh no, I'm never going to show this to anybody. No, I'm the first one that goes out and says, look at this, try this, look at that, you know. So I'm very happy.
If you ever have any question, he just invited it. Contact me, I'll contact him and pass your question along. So thank you very much, Nino. Kurt, thank you very much.
Kurt, thank you very much as well. Good to see you.
And everybody, please stay safe and healthy in these crazy times, and I'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, Daniel. This was pretty exciting. It was so exciting that even the color of my shirt changed meanwhile. Now, the reason why I got a different shirt on, because we pre-recorded the stream out of good reason. We wanted to make this Q&A session as perfect as possible for you. And so we found a way to get Nino Pansini live here to Munich for your questions. So please go ahead and answer and ask us all your questions.
Hello, everyone.
So the questions come here from the background, and there is, of course, one question first to Nino. How does somebody will become a stuntman? What is the way into that profession in the film industry?
Actually, to be honest with you, I never knew I was going to end up in the film business. It just happened so that I started doing some work for some people, and I just kept getting calls back, and that led me into meet other people until I met what the director wants, and I was able to give him a lot more than what he was expecting. So it just became like a marriage after that. Every other time he kept calling, and I kept improving until I reached the level where I am today.
Okay, maybe a second one for Nino. So somebody asking, is there any movie you look back on now and wish you would have this equipment for the use on this film? So he especially is asking for the head, the stabilized remote head.
Yeah, there's plenty of movies that I can look back and wish we had this, and that's why this head was born, because of that, because the wish was always there, but until then everything was too big. It would not be able to get in places as tight as what we can get the SRH. You know, such as inside of a car, for instance. It's forbidden to put the current stabilized heads in there.
And honestly, this was the way we met. We met 2015 on the Cinegear
Right.
show, and Nino saw the first Trinity prototype, and he said to me, Kurt, can you make me a remote head out of this Trinity? Because he said, I need this compact size, I need a lightweight and a fast way to set it up. And so in the end, out of the Trinity head, we made the remote head as it is today. Thanks to him, by the way. So he pushed us.
There's a question coming from UK asking about actually what have you lost from the SRH-3 when we were moving to the 360? So did we lose something?
No, I think we didn't lose anything,
No.
because it is the,
Just
we're
now-
adding.
Yeah, basically in the past you had 270 one way and 270 the other, and that the mechanical stops. Now you can go all around the whole time and never have to worry about it. And that's why we love it. So we never have to worry about where the head is going to stop or not.
And the other thing we added to the head is a 12G video line. So this head is already ready for the next generation of cameras. And we put in a 50% more torque, especially for Nino. So whenever he goes extremely fast and he goes really crazy, there's always enough
Power and
power
juice.
in the back.
No, I'm very glad for this. You know, it's like more than twice as strong and as powerful as the standard SRH-3. And the reason I kept requesting this heavy motor was when we do action, we have the tendency to use a lot of G-force, a lot of speed, and you just need that torque to keep the head where it needs to be and counter pan with the G-force. So FOMA was kind enough to redesign the motor to have it built in. So now I can't wait to start playing with this.
So somebody's asking, have you utilized any other stabilized head in the past? And if yes, how does it compare to the 360?
Okay, in the past, yes, I've utilized many stabilized heads. And again, the difference is size and cost and personnel that comes with it and so forth. I mean, we can go on and on and on. What I like about this, the feel for it, it's very smooth, very silky, very intuitive, there's no like lag, there's no like compensation when you're using joystick, knowing, okay, if I move the joystick this much, the head will react this way. With this head, using the joystick is like extremely easy for me. Unlike with the other heads, there's always something that doesn't quite marry well, you know. But with this one, it's just like almost like butter, let's say it that way, as somebody else quoted saying that. So I really like the way this head feels. I don't know why, but the feel is completely different from any other joystick that I've used with different stabilized heads.
All right, so this one might be for Kurt. Is the head stabilized looking straight down? And also, is it possible to turn the stabilization off?
The first part is, yes, of course, you can do a complete 90-degree shot down. That's not a problem. You can even do looking down, and you can do a 360 while looking down. Can you switch off stabilization? No, because it would also mean you will switch off the brain of the head. So, but we find, you will see in the new software, we find ways to manage this, the stabilization in a way that even things like drift will nearly disappear.
But to answer the question in a different way, I would like to say that I am working with FOMA and not sure if it's going to happen or not, but in the future I would like to have the ability to shut off stabilization on each axis independently. Again, with action sometimes we need to have a little energy, not necessarily have a fully nice, beautiful stabilized image. We need to have a little bit of shake, and sometimes we like to have that either in the tilt, in the pan, or in the roll, or all together. But to let you know something, I'm working or trying to make that happen, hopefully in the near future.
But a good part of this question and the answer is that will always be software related. You can always use the same hardware because we will find a way to tweak the software for Nino's wishes. So
yeah, and you know, they're not my wishes actually, to be honest with you. What the drive behind the development of this head, which again began by meeting Kurt, playing with the Trinity at Cinegear, and I visualized that tiny little stabilized head to be used as a tiny stabilized head in action sequences, because they're so small you can fit them anywhere fast without having to go crazy with balancing and all that. It all started with that. As you can see, obviously how small it is, and you can fit it anywhere. But I mean, the places I put this head, I don't think any other head would ever fit in there. Yes, you could fit it, but you would have to cut the roof of a car. You would have to cut half of the car. You would have to do all kinds of things. With this head, put it on a head, strap it on a chair, put it at a height you need, and off you go. You don't have to worry about if it's level, not level, whatever. It does it all on its own.
Have you tried to use the head in low dynamic with very long lenses? I know you often do action, but I'm curious how still the remote head would be with a 100 millimeter or a 150 millimeter lens.
Well, the longest lens that I've tried so far on this, underslung, we have a car, it's called a Subaru, we call it the Subi. The camera is mounted literally beneath the wheel barrel. So the lens is literally this far off the ground. If this is the ground, it would be what, about 8 inches off the ground. I used a different head in the past, which I could not go past 30 millimeters, and then I would start getting excessive shake, that it was basically unusable in many ways. And the idea was to put this and try it. And at the time when I tried it, I had a long zoom, medium zoom actually. I think it was 30 to 80, lightweight zoom. And we were at a very, very rough airport in Georgia. And I zoomed 80 millimeter all the way in, and it was like super smooth. I couldn't believe it, you know, with 80 millimeter on a rough road.
Kurt, where do you see the future of the SRH? I think to dual cam setups for true 3D capture, also IMAX cameras, are they able to be mounted on this remote head?
It's a good question, because on one hand, as Nino's pointing out, we try to design the head as compact as possible. So of course we're looking for compact cameras to be used with this head, because as we know, an IMAX camera could be very big and bulky, so this may be a bit too big for the head. Because of course, if you're looking the way Nino's working, you need compact design to be able to speed a mess up to high speeds. An IMAX camera could be a bit tricky. To answer the other part of the question, a part of the future is also, as we showed in the video or in the stream before, is to have to enable easy way of remote operating wider distance, or to have more heads in the same setup on the same control. That maybe one operator can operate 2 cameras at the same time, or one camera is following a master remote head, and you have always 2 cameras covering the shot operated by one operator. But if these kind of camera gets a bit smaller, or maybe we make a bigger ring, which is also possible, let's see what the future brings. Because the technology can be scaled up, so the size is not a limit, it's just the way how people like to use it is the call to follow. And if there's a call to make it wider, to get these kind of cameras in, we are able to scale it up. It's
All right.
possible.
So there's an additional question which actually I missed earlier. It's from the person who was asking about the image stabilization looking straight down.
Yeah.
The additional question is, can you place into matrix mode, or looking into how to do that?
You mean to go fully horizontal with the entire head is not able in this software version, but we're working on this feature because we know we like this feature.
I know they told me we're not able to do that. I did it and it worked.
Yeah, so-
But obviously the company is not going to say that works. But I said that I tried it because I'm always have to try things. So yes, you could have that and do matrix. You will obviously have roll and pan now on the same axis. So you no longer have the tilt or the pan at that point. It also depends on the size of the camera, because obviously if you exceed the limit, you're going to hit the bottom of the frame and you're not going to be able to look down all the way. So I did it, even though the company told me not to. But again, I'm the crazy guy. I always have to try things. And I'm not saying do it because I did it. I'm just saying that I did it. That's all.
Yeah, and what I say is wait till we give you the right software which is supporting the matrix mode. Because with the 360, of course, it's easier because there's no mechanical limitations anymore, which on the free was, of course, an issue, because if you mount the head not in the right way, you could hit the mechanical end stops, which is not the case here anymore. So just give us a little while to make you the right software to do this.
And then do it, yes. So with the ERM 900, can you send zoom and focus data across to a WCU4?
No.
Or do you need to
The
need
LC,
the other new module to connect zoom and focus?
two things just to make sure. We have, even if the modules look the same, but they are very, very different. There's the LCS version, which is only available in 2.4 gigahertz to remote control the WC4 and the camera. And the 900 and the 900 version is only for the remote head, as also a 2.4 gigahertz is for the remote head. We cannot use the 900 for LCS because the kind of data stream we have to transmit can't be handled by 900 megahertz. So for LCS, it's only the 2.4 gigahertz version at the moment.
Okay, a short one to you, Kurt. Are we able to save various profiles with the current software version?
Yeah, up to 10.
Up to 10.
Up
All
to
right.
10.
And is the SRH-360 a little taller than the SRH-3?
It is just the pan axis is a bit more diameter and maybe like 2 centimeters higher, but all the rest stays in the same footprint.
Okay. Does the CAT to CAN adapter work for box-style broadcast cameras like the Sony P1? Or is there another way to get an Ethernet or fiber-based broadcast camera hardwired through the pass-throughs of the SRH-3?
I think first of all we have to separate. This is two businesses. The first business, we have a point-to-point protocol. We can operate the head and we can operate the lens control through our Ethernet grid. To get a camera picture and a camera control through our grid, I would say no, you would have two Ethernet lineups side by side. So one is taking care about camera control and the image, and the other is taking care about lens control and head control. Maybe in future we will have a box which have enough power to transport so much data at the same time. But the first step we're looking at is first of all to get camera, lens control and head control on the Ethernet grid.
Hey guys, we are getting really cool questions. What setup is the best to work within a post-COVID set? Especially if I need to get close to the talent and keep the camera moving.
Well, in this case, I mean, if you're using a motorized dolly, of course you can put the head on a motorized dolly. You can set up anywhere you want.
Yeah.
And if you're using the ORM, you know, you can be even on the floor above or, God, anywhere else really with a control and control the whole camera setup and have absolutely nobody by the camera except the equipment itself. And you can get as close as you want to get to the actor. You know, again, you can use either radios or you can be hardwired.
And also we're working very close with companies who do dollies, which can be wireless remote control, like Agito Dolly. And other companies, even we're looking into studio dollies we can completely remote control from somewhere else. again, through the IP network, it could be even from another city. So you could be in LA while your remote head is somewhere in San Francisco. That is possible in the future.
Okay. Next question. Can the SRH-360 be mounted or used 90 degrees offset as seen from the pan axis?
90-degree offset, meaning that way? Well, you can, but you could, but you need to be aware that right now we do not have a slip ring in the roll. We still have a cable. So if you were to do that, you would be limited to this and just slightly more. After this, you would not be able to do any more roll. So if you have to stay level, that's all you're going to get.
But there's a good thing about this question, because Jean-Fré, one of our great product managers, once designed a bracket which allows you to mount the Mini already 90-degree flipped. So you can keep the head straight while the camera is 90 degrees. So you have still the full action of the head.
That means you still keep the head this way, but the camera is actually mounted that way.
Exactly.
With the bracket, special bracket that goes in.
This is a solution for this question.
Cool. So which spring arms have you found work best with the SRH?
Oh, this is a Nino one.
Okay, for the last film that we did, we tried quite a few spring arms. What I liked about the Flow Cine is the double Flow Cine. The single one, I had a little bit of trouble because it was bottoming out every time we would get in various rough road conditions. But the double one worked really well, so that was my favorite of all of them. The other ones, they're designed more for a heavier camera package. This whole package is very, very light. So you have to have the right tool to get the performance correct. Otherwise, if you end up using a very strong arm, you're not going to like the results of the camera, of the head itself.
Can I use any accessories to be mounted without destabilizing?
Any accessories to be mounted without?
No, to the mount, excuse me, to be added to the mount.
Yes, below the head, you mean?
I think we don't get the questions, do we? One more time.
I may have missed the info, but can any accessories be added to the mount without destabilizing?
Yes, you can add anything underneath. It will always stay stabilized. Any accessory.
If you get the question right, or even if you're adding accessories to the camera, as long as it's mounted and it's really tight.
Yeah, you can add anything you like.
This will not interfere at all with the stabilization.
No. The very good part about this, again, the way this gimbal works is, sometimes when you load a camera, you almost have to balance this like a steady cam. Because if it's too top heavy or too bottom heavy, the result may vary. So you want to try to always have a good balance, regardless of the package. The biggest package I've had on this head was an SXT with 1885 Fujinon, which is a very heavy lens. So the camera was like this long. I thought I was going to have trouble working with that, but I did not. Just because it was well balanced, it performed just as well as if I just had a Mini with a short zoom. So the trick is to have a good balance.
Yeah, center of gravity is the key.
All right, we have a final question. Oh, the others coming in. So we have one question where somebody wants to know, Kurt, about your roadmap. He's asking, are you working on a repeatable head version where you can save the pan and tilt information through a shot and then replay it?
Of course, this is always the goal, to have to reproduce shots, because this is, I think, also a part of the post-corona times, to have more automation in shooting. And yes, we're working on solutions like this, of course.
So is this going to be a software thing for that head, or is that a new head?
No, it's a software.
All right.
Because I think there's also a part of the CSS products in my history is we always try to improve the software instead the hardware, to ensure that your investment stays the next 5 years or 10 years, and we just give you small upgrades to keep this investment as long alive as possible.
Okay.
Especially in these times.
Thanks. So when will the features of SUP 2.9 for the SRH-360 be available for the SRH-3?
We think we should get there like October, November. Because, you know, doing a software is one thing, but you should do massive testing before you release the software. So technically the software is there, we just want to take our time to do all the testing which is needed.
Take it for a drive.
Yeah, we just give it to Nino to test the hell out of it. And if he said it's okay to release it, we're ready to go. But it will be in this year.
Okay, so we have two last ones. When the last? Okay.
We don't trust you anymore. Go ahead.
Stop sending questions.
It's good, go ahead. That's why we're here.
When you define soft positional stops in either axis, does the stabilization override those positions if necessary?
Currently, yes, it does override them.
Of course, because
Yeah.
if he's moving the head,
Yes.
the stabilization should interact, because or the head wouldn't make
Yeah.
any sense. So yes, of course. In a way, the stabilization will overrule if you move the base of the head or if you move the crane.
Past the stops,
Yeah.
yeah.
Could be.
Does the head have auto horizon?
Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
Auto horizon, you can even auto tilt if you like. You can even adjust. You can also have a manual adjustment of this if you want to always be Dutched
Yeah,
as
say, you know,
a
say-
starting angle.
You know, we've done some shots, let's say, when we were racing on a racetrack. The racetrack, as you know, has got like serious inclinations when the car have to go to top speed on turns. And sometimes the head is stabilized and you're filming a car, but it looks like the car is actually driving downhill or uphill. In that case, I would have to cheat the roll to make it look like the car is still going straight. But then, because it was fixed on that position, once you reach the level side, then the car is Dutched. So I would just push the button, auto level, it would just quickly go to level position. So yes, it's a very good feature that it has. And I like the follow mode. I really have to say, I love the follow mode in this head, which many stabilized head do not have it or doesn't work well. With this one, you put it in follow mode, whichever way your car is pointing, it will stay there. And what it'll do, if you have a minimal degree on the follow mode, it will just pretty much float just a little bit. It gives you like a little breathing feel into the shot. So it's not like such a fixed follow mode. Tum, tum, tum. It kind of breathes a little bit like that. And I really loved that feature, especially on in Thailand, you know, when we were filming off-road, you know, the cars are going every direction and we were just following them. To have it stabilized, I don't know how to explain this vision. It's like, even though you're following a stabilized mode, the car would make it look like the camera is moving sideways and then follow. But if I left it in follow mode, it was great the way it was going around it. So definitely the follow mode is a plus for me.
All right, so there are still coming questions in, but we will answer them later on, and you will also see, dear customers, an email address which you can use to send more questions to Kurt, and if needed, he will send it to Nino.
Of course.
But one person, I want to read the text. It was the customer asking about the accessories to be mounted, and he says, and thank you for that. Thank you for your time. You did answer the accessory question properly for me, and the remote head is beautiful technology.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
want to add something else to that accessory questions. When I was in London on the what do you call that? The BSC, right?
BSC show, right?
I
yeah.
was there. Arri made this plate, which is called the SAM plate, the SAM 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken,
and 3
right?
and 4.
Okay, now there's 3 and 4, I assume, right? But when I first tried the SAM plate, I was having a hard time because the SAM plate worked great for a small package. But then I explained at Arri there that I sometimes have to use a much longer camera and the SAM plate is completely useless. So they were nice enough to create a new SAM plate, which it creates a very low profile on the camera, and you can slide the camera way back and put a longer lens and not having to worry about how you're going to fit the camera onto the head itself. So I like this new SAM plate, which it also adds bottom weight which I like that because quite often I end up mounting the camera upside down, and all my rods and support system, it's all above it, which makes the camera way top heavy. But having this SAM plate, it helps balance now, lower the center of gravity of the lens, of the camera itself, so giving me a much better balance.
And to be more precise, the SAM plate is 550 millimeters long. This is like twice the length of the SAM plate we're using here, which is the SAM2. And on top of this, the new SAM plates have also an extra mount to support heavy lenses with 90 millimeter rods. So this is a beefy lens support.
Yeah.
So go ahead and send us all your questions, and Nino and I will answer them then later offline. And thank you for joining us this morning or this evening. And
Wherever you are, right?
yeah, and hopefully see you soon.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.